Don't forget, ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone is a real simple way to show your support for what's going on here week after week. Hi everyone, this is Nicole Rivera and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast for writers who are looking for their writing community. I know you want to find readers for your work, but I think your first step is to connect with other writers. That's what we're going to do here in the Stop Writing Alone podcast. We'll do writing prompts and other writing group activities, discover online writing communities, learn how to find local writing groups, or how to make your own. Join us as we explore, learn, and write. This week's episode of Stop Writing Alone is sponsored by the coffee.com/stopwritingalone page where you can support all things Stop Writing Alone, like this podcast, the YouTube page, the writing prompt parties, the soon-to-come Stop Writing Alone Club on Clubhouse, which I'll be talking to you about soon, Stop Reading Alone, or the creation of the Happy Campers Club coming soon. So, if you are interested in supporting all of these things coming to life and coming to you to help you stop writing alone, then head on over to coffee.com/stopwritingalone. That's spelled ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone, where you can either do a one-time donation or become a monthly subscriber. And please remember, monthly subscribers in 2021 will receive every single month an exclusive PDF created by me for you and an exclusive writing prompt just for those monthly subscribers. So again, it's ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone. I want to thank my monthly supporters. Every little bit does really help, and I couldn't be here without your support. So thank you, and let's get into this week's episode. Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. Welcome to episode 108, where I want to talk to you about how you can find your own tribe. Now, this is the Stop Writing Alone podcast, so you know this isn't the first time that we've had this kind of discussion about how to find the people to grow with and to create with and to write with. But on Wednesday afternoon, I had a chat with my Mastermind group over on Clubhouse, that new app that I talked to you about last week. And it was all about this topic. So I know I've spoken to you about these ladies before, but the ladies that I have come to call the Voxer Vixens, because we meet together basically daily on the app Voxer, just talking to one another, cheering each other on for years now. And that's Kim Flodin, Claire Oldham West, Emma Isaacs, Johanna Peralta, and Lisa Murray. Were all in this Clubhouse meeting today that we called Stop Dreaming Alone, because we realized we can't go out into the world and call ourselves vixens without people misinterpreting stuff. And we came to the conclusion that the thing that we have done and have gained from one another is that we all came to the table with a dream of something that we wanted to do and bring into the world. And before we met each other, nothing really was moving forward with it. We were just dreaming. And once we stopped dreaming alone, that's when things started to move forward. So today, when we met in the Clubhouse room to sort of tell everybody about the importance of having such a community, such a group of people to support one another, the topic came up of like, well, how do you even find those people? We had somebody came up from the audience and said, I feel like you guys have been touching on it, but how do you get this right chemistry and this right group of people? And I love the question because it really made us dig a little bit deeper and hone in on, how did this happen? And can it be replicated? And if so, how? So combining, some of the stuff that we discussed in that room, plus some of my reflections later on, I wanted to just kind of give you a rundown of the things that I think are really essential in finding your people, finding your tribe. The first bit of advice and the first thing that I think is going to get you moving in the right direction to finding your people actually came from an interview that I did on this podcast. And that was an interview with Jeff Goings. And he explained in the interview that, we all go to these various events, whether it's a book signing or you go to a writer's conference or you go to some virtual event, and you're really trying to get some sort of connection with this your favorite author, whoever it may be. And you're thinking, if I could just connect with this person, they are my people. I want to connect with Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, whoever, Jason Reynolds is your person of the moment. You've been reading their work and you're connected and you're saying, these people speak my language. They're the ones that I want to jive with. What Jeff had said in that interview, which I thought was really, really great and perfect, was that when you're on that line waiting for that autograph, waiting for those, 2 minutes that you have to have this great conversation with your hero, that is where you're going to find your people. But it's not with that best-selling author. It's with the other people who are on the line with you. And when he said this to me back then, when I was in the interview, I had like such an aha moment, because that was really around the time that I was first connecting with the ladies of Stop Dreaming Alone. And it was all because we had been in a course run by Kathy Heller, who had the Don't Keep Your Day Job podcast. And each of us had listened to Kathy's podcast. And when she developed the course, we all sort of ran into the course thinking, Kathy's my people. I need to connect with her. She speaks my language. That is where I'm going to find my tribe. And that is where we found our tribe, but not where we were looking. We were looking to Kathy thinking she was our people. And she is, to an extent, but she already had her group of support. So where did we find our people? In the line, in the group. As we were all looking to Kathy, we look left, we look right, and here are our people. So number one, if you are struggling for wherever to even begin, to even find people that are speaking the same language as you, that are, having the same dreams, the same struggles, first, you need to sort of find those spaces, find those communities. And it could be, as Jeff said, like online, to meet the person that speaks your language, because the other people online will also be there because they like that language. But it could be places like conferences, and right now everything's virtual, so you have this amazing opportunity to connect with people all over the place that you may not have ever had the opportunity to stand in line next to. So that's bare bones, like, where the heck do I find these people? And yes, they could be in Stop Writing Alone, right? So this is one of the things that I'm always trying to encourage people to come to the Stop Writing Alone Facebook group to sort of interact and share posts and get into conversations with other writers, because yes, I'll be there and I'll respond to you, and that's fantastic. But you may find somebody else who's also in the group that is writing back, and they may be like your perfect person for this moment right now. So, number one, that's where your people are. Your people are in the same place that you want to be in. So, number two, what happens when now you are in the space and you're surrounded by your people. This is the tricky bit. This is the bit that became like such an aha for me in this conversation in the Clubhouse room on Wednesday. The question was asked, how do you gain that trust? How do you know that these really are your like ride or die people? And at first, we all kind of gave our own answers to that question. And at first, it sounded like we were giving 5 different answers. And then it hit me what was the common thread between all of the things that we each said in response to this. We each, in one way or another, were incredibly vulnerable in front of these other people. So again, going back to this group of ladies that I'm connected with, we were in a course. We were in an online course together. We were all learning something that was fairly new to us. We were all at different levels, I should say, because Kim has a background in radio, so she knew some stuff. Lisa had been in the entertainment industry, so she had been comfortable with editing and things like that. But like Claire and I, we had never even seen half the equipment that we're using now. So we were already vulnerable in the space of like, I don't know what I'm doing. But then throughout the course, because Kathy Heller had also offered coaching throughout, there was some like real deal life stuff that came up. And I mean, I can speak to me personally because I was just showing up to get as much as I could out of this course. I was all in. And if Kathy wanted to dig deep on a certain thing that might have been like holding me back from moving forward, I was ready to dig deep and I didn't care who was watching in the class, right? So there were moments where I got incredibly vulnerable, and I'm talking like tears, crying, tearing my heart out, learning things about myself. And so then Claire answered similarly in Clubhouse on Wednesday, and she said, yeah, there was, I was going through a thing in my life, and then I just came out and said it. And Kim had her own thing. Like we each had a thing that either happened to us at that moment or that we were sharing in that moment. And we got real vulnerable. And at the time, it wasn't like I wasn't getting vulnerable to Claire, to Kim. I was to Kathy where I felt safe, but they were also there. And because we're, I guess, decent people, and we felt like we were on the same ride together, we ended up reaching out to one another. So here's the common thread that really pulled us all together, because Emma and Johanna joined our group later on, but similarly, when they joined, it was just, the timing of life and stuff, that each one of them had like a vulnerable thing that they shared almost immediately upon like entering the group. So why is this important? Why is this such a pivotal step? Here's my theory. Here's what I'm thinking. When we're on these creative journeys, and for us in this podcast, Stop Writing Alone, we're talking about writing. And it's similar to, my experience in teaching. And I've spoken to you about this before. Like, these are our creative babies, right? There's vulnerability simply in the fact that we are sharing our writing with one another. There's vulnerability in writing in the first place, and just saying, I'm writing this thing from my heart and I'm going to put it out into the world, and please don't hurt my heart while it's outside of my body, right? So when you are looking for your tribe of people that are going to support you on this journey of vulnerability as it is, you have got to show up unapologetically as your total raw self. And when you do so, and you find somebody that accepts you in that raw form, those are your people. No questions asked. That is it. And I do think this is a really important step. I think you have to take the scary leap of being vulnerable in the face of almost strangers. I mean, that's essentially these women that I speak to every single day that are like such a part of my life right now were complete and utter strangers the first time I got raw and uncomfortably vulnerable in front of them. But that's what sort of brought us together. So what happens if you do that, you take that leap, you are really vulnerable, and there's some level of rejection. Now, this happens to us as creatives all the time. We ended up talking about this in the group as well, because we said, for all of us, we've been talking about these dreams and these things for nearly all our lives to anybody that would listen. And like nobody really got it. Nobody really said, yeah, that's the thing. It was more like, okay, cool, cute hobby, nice little adorable idea. Let me pat you on your head. But, don't forget about that steady job you want to go get. And, is there a union job you can get? That would be great too. So in that loving and caring that many of our friends and families have for us, where they're looking out for our security and our safety, there has been a level of repeated rejection over our deepest dreams, right? I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's true. And our society is sort of built that way. I'm hoping it's changing. I'm hoping, my son is in a new sort of world where this type of thinking is more readily embraced. But, for those of us who are adults now, we were pretty much brought up in a situation where if you had some sort of creative dream, it was looked upon as a hobby that you would explore while you were getting the quote unquote real job in the real world. So that is just a tiny example of you being vulnerable, telling maybe a teacher, a parent, a friend, somebody that you want to be a writer. I mean, that statement alone is already vulnerability. And if that was rejected as not a serious thing or, something, you may already feel like there's no one out there for me. But I go back to the phrase that I seem to throw out every single time I hear the word rejection, and that is rejection is redirection. When those people, whether it out of love or whatever, rejected those ideas, that meant that you needed to redirect to find your people. And this is why my people are people from all over the world that I connect with digitally and virtually, because I did have all these mini rejections. And again, not out of like lack of love or compassion for me. It's partially lack of understanding how something like this can be accomplished. And also just being steeped in the paradigm of that which we were all raised in, that, this is not how we do things around here. But to that end, since you've had experience with those types of rejections and you are probably listening to this podcast because you've been redirected and said, yeah, I know in my heart that I can stop writing alone. I just don't know how or where to find my people. I would say, again, once you're vulnerable in the right space, right? So going back to Jeff Goins' advice, you go find the line, the community, the space where people are speaking your language. And then step 2, you be vulnerable in that space. 1, if somebody like embraces you for that, you have found your people, congratulations. If it falls flat and people are like, I don't get it, why is that, part of your conversation? Then you redirect. You say, okay, that person is not going to be my ride or die creative companion on this journey. They may be cool people, but I need to find somebody else. And you just try again, right? This whole idea that if something doesn't work once, then it wasn't meant to be, we got to get rid of that. I mean, especially as writers. My goodness, writing is rewriting, right? And that applies to every aspect of your life. So if you do something and it doesn't work, you try it again. You rewrite. You go for a second draft of the vulnerability test and see who you pick up. But I guarantee you, if you show up authentically as yourself and just like be honest, not only are you going to find your people, but you are going to create a safe space for others to be authentically themselves. And that's it. I mean, if you can do that, then you're really on your path to finding and creating a very, very strong tribe. So Emma Isaacs, who's part of our group, she's always talking about this. She has this phrase. She says, when a seed doesn't grow, no one blames the seed. When a seed doesn't grow, we have to look at the environment. When you create that safe space of vulnerability, you say, I'm going to be vulnerable. I welcome you to be so as well. You are creating an environment that is healthy for mutual growth. It's really like where it all begins. Which leads to, when you have your people, remember that this is not a competition. I think we kind of lucked out with my Stop Dreaming Alone Voxer Vixen crew, because we didn't have to really think about competition when we first met each other, because we were all in different niches, right? So I'm here podcasting about writing. Kim was doing a podcast with her sisters telling really funny family stories, which is amazing. How in the hell did I get here? Claire was doing a podcast on slimming stories, on weight loss journeys, and really getting into the nitty gritty of the, all the in between, not the before and after photo, but like what happened in between. That's great stuff. Emma's got her podcast on, creativity. She's a designer and talking about, talking to all different designers and people in the arts and talking specifically about creativity. So yeah, there's a little bit of overlap in some of the stuff that we do, but it wasn't like writing versus writing, weight loss versus weight loss. We were just like, we weren't competing. But even when you find your fellow writers, which I now have through Stop Writing Alone, through the Happy Campers, right? Through my Staten Island Writers Group, we're all sitting here, we're side by side, we're writers. Here's what I want to say to you guys. Competition is for games, right? Competition has its space in this world, but it's when you're playing, and it's when you're in a game, when you're in a contest. That is the one and only space in which competition makes sense. Every other aspect of your life, you need community, you need cooperation. And that's where you really grow. So, you found your people, you were vulnerable with them, you created a safe space. Part of that safe space is really putting competition to the side. You're not competing with one another. And one of the ways that you can make sure that you develop a habit so that competition is on the side is that you give at least as much as you get. Of course, when you're looking for support and community, you are so needy. We are all so needy as creatives. We need support as we're on this journey. And we're starved for it, for all the reasons that I just said before. Our society, our families, our friends, they don't get like how badly we need this type of encouragement, this type of, like I said, support, accountability, just to get our dreams done, right? Because they see it as a hobby. They're like, oh, it's fun. You'll just do it and you'll enjoy every bit of it. And yes, writing is fun and it fills my soul, but it's also really, really hard. And so there is a lot of need there. And when you find your people, you're like, whoa, I got somebody that can fill my soul. This is great. And you want to just like get it. You want to get it all. You want to fill my cup. However, the only way that you can sustain that healthy environment where there's mutual growth going, and this is you included, is if you give at least as much as you get. And giving it's not hard. You don't have to be an expert in anything, because you are an expert in something. And whatever it is that you have mastered, that is your area of expertise, right? Your zone of genius, as they call it. So when you come together with a group of humans and you've decided we are going to grow together, you're naturally going to start to figure out what is your thing. You're going to know when somebody has an issue that's your space to step up and say, I think I got a way to help you. And sometimes helping is just listening. And sometimes it is a bit of advice. But if you can maintain that habit of giving at least as much as you get, I promise it's going to come back to you tenfold. It's just going to keep coming back and circling back to you. And that is the number one way that I can think of caring for that space and that environment and keeping that soil for your seed to grow aerated and nourished and watering it. I think that is really, really it. I mean, it's it. It's a lot. I mean, I've been talking for a bit here, but you find your people in the communities that speak your language. You find your people within that community by being unapologetically yourself, including showing some vulnerability. If there is rejection there, you redirect and you just try again. You don't give up. You remember that competition is for games and games alone. And you want to form a community so that you give as much as you get in order to create a safe and healthy space to grow in. I'm sure I'm forgetting 1,000 different things. But if you just follow those steps to get started in finding your tribe, I think you're going to be on a really great path to finding your people. Again, I hope that I can help you do that and stop writing alone. But if I can't, I don't feel bad if that's not a right fit for you, if you can find the right space for you. That is all I'm here for. I am here for you to get the wonderful, soul-filling opportunities that I have had, I don't know how many times over now. I mean, the ladies in Stop Dreaming Alone, the people in the Stop Writing Alone Happy Campers group, my Staten Island Writers group, all of these spaces are spaces that I have continued to grow in. And I hope that I have also helped others grow as well. If you're still writing alone, if you're still listening alone and you're just not sure, I hope this episode has helped you out in some way to at least think about what your next steps are and where you can go to find your people. But if you have any questions and you want to reach out to me, I am here. I am still, I hope to give you more than 2 minutes at the front of a line, right? So I can be part of that person for you, but I also hope that I can maintain these conversations with you so that you can find the people that will truly fill your soul as much as you deserve, because this is the only way through this crazy journey of life. It's not just that the people that I've connected with have helped me grow, Stop Writing Alone, helped me show up to my writing, but they've helped me in this journey of life. And that is what I wish for you, because everybody deserves that kind of nourishment on a daily basis. find your tribe, and grow and grow and grow. And I can't wait to see what comes of it. I thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you and hear from you throughout the week. You can check in at the MV Rivera YouTube channel this Friday for a new writing exercise. Otherwise, I will talk to you again next Thursday. Have a wonderful week. Happy writing. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Stop Writing Alone podcast wherever you're listening to this episode today. Then connect with us on Facebook at Stop Writing Alone Facebook page or in the Stop Writing Alone with Nicole Rivera Facebook group. Check Instagram or Twitter where I'm at NV_Rivera to find links to our email newsletter. Recording, hosting, editing, producing. It's so much work. Disaster has struck. I finished my coffee. Tell me coffee is coming. ko-fi.com/stop writing alone.